As our app grows larger and larger, it is unavoidable that we're going to have a lot of routes. Having a good way to organize these routes in our React project can really help us to go a long way. You don't really want to manage 1,000 lines inside the main JSX file, do you? Let me show you a quick technique on how I organize my routes in my React project. On the fundamental level, the route object are basically JavaScript object, and they're living inside an array. So technically speaking, we could have splitted this array into groups and combine them all together back inside the create browser router function. I will show you what I mean. So currently in our sample app here, we have a few routes which are what we consider as public pages. So I can create a new array here and I'll call it public route. And I'll put those routes inside this array. And we also got an admin routes. Again, I'll create another array and put the admin routes into this array. Now back inside our create browser router function, we can now unpack those routes into the array. Isn't that neat? So now our create browser router function is very clean and easy to understand. The next step is to move this routes array into their own file and import them inside this main JSX file, so we can keep our main JSX file as clean as possible. Let's create a new folder called routes inside our source directory, and we'll go ahead and create two files in there for our admin routes and public routes. Once we're done, we'll move all the corresponding routes logic into these two files, and also export the route array in each of these files. Once we're done, we just need to import them back inside our main JSX file. And that's it. Let's go to our browser and test our app and see if it is still working. Whoops, we've got an error. It says failed to resolve import. This is because we have changed our folder structure and the import routes that we copy over is no longer referencing the correct file. Let's fix that. Currently, our routes file is living inside the routes folder. And that means in order for us to access the pages folder, we need to go back up a level. And that should fix the issue. We will do the same for our public routes. And now let's head back to the browser and see what will happen. And we're greeted by a blank screen. Oh shit. Now upon inspecting the browser console, we see that we've got an error. It says that the angle bracket is an unexpected token. Seems like we have some issues with the JSX syntax. Let's go back to our code and fix this. It turns out that when we try to import our public and admin routes on line 6 and 7 here, JavaScript is already trying to parse the JSX syntax inside the file. The thing is, we can't really use JSX in anywhere that we like. We can only use JSX syntax inside the React component or React-related functions. So how do we fix this? The answer is simple. We simply need to render the component without using the JSX syntactic sugar. In other words, we need to call the underlying React function behind the JSX syntax, which is simply react.createElement. Let's go ahead and refactor the routes inside the admin routes file. Once we're done, we'll go back to the browser and our app is showing once again. Beautiful. After all these hustles, the end result is us having a very clean main JSX file where we delegate all the routes logic into their own files. Now let's say our app grows larger and larger and the routes number in each of these routes files become too big. You could do the same thing again and split them up into another file. This file structure is extremely flexible and I hope it can help you to organize your massive project. Alright, key takeaways for this lesson. As our app grows, it is a good idea to split the routes array into multiple files. We can only use JSX syntax in the React components or directly in the argument of React functions. To create React components in other places, we should call the createElement function directly. That's it for now, and I'll see you again in the next one. If you would like to see more content, consider supporting us by becoming a member at my website, Acadea.io. It is similar to Patreon, but in return, you get a lot of premium tutorials and lessons. If you can't become a member, that's totally fine. We are just happy that you are here. We spend a lot of time and energy to produce high quality videos for you. feel free to check out our other videos on YouTube, and if you can leave a thumbs up, you will really make my day. If you subscribe, I would jump for joy, and I'll make more videos for you. Thanks for your support, and I'll see you next time.